This President's Day, protests across the country pushing back against President Trump's first month in office and what organizers say are his anti democratic and illegal actions. They call it the No King's Day protest, even as the president suggested in social media posts this weekend that he is above the law, stating he who saves his country does not violate any law. Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin responded on CBS.
The dominant objective of this administration is corruption and lawlessness.
Trump's declaration comes as his administration faces multiple restraining orders from judges, who've in some cases said his actions are likely unconstitutional.
Look at him. He signed anything,
One
don't
of those
even
cases
read
would be
it.
the first test for the U.S. Supreme Court, after the president fired the head of a federal agency that protects whistleblowers. A lower court blocked him. But the Trump administration has asked the High Court to uphold the removal of Hampton Dellinger as head of the Office of Special Counsel. As the White House battles in the courts, billionaire Elon Musk's government takeover grows.
Look at that nut.
Musk's team, the so-called
They need
Department
to
of
lock
Government
him up
Efficiency,
for real.
is seeking unlimited access to highly sensitive Internal Revenue Service systems that hold taxpayer data for millions of Americans. And over the holiday weekend, Musk's team fired tens of thousands of federal workers across the government.
Don't make no damn
On
sense.
Friday, the Department of Health and Human Services started terminating probationary employees. That's expected to total more than 5,000 jobs, including almost a tenth of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's workforce. Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin defended the firings on ABC.
We hate that anybody's losing their job, but at the same time, we know that the debt that we have in this country is not manageable.
Cutting 10% of the federal workforce could save about $800 billion over 10 years. But that's just a fraction of the $70 trillion that will be spent by the government if current levels hold.
All they gotta do is when they get a new president, put everything back in place.
And the Food and Drug Administration. And in a
Once he get out of
Department
office.
Energy that totaled nearly 2,000, hundreds of employees at the National Nuclear Security Administration were also fired. When the Trump administration realized that they had fired
But you
engineers
giving
who oversee
over
the
$200 million in contracts to
they
Elon Musk.
scrambled to reverse course.
Are you serious?
The firings for almost all of the nuclear security workers were rescinded. Of the more than 300 who were originally fired, fewer
That's
than
giving him
50
back the
were
money that he
dismissed.
gave you, basically.
And Laura, the firings seem to be haphazard across these many government agencies. Do you have any more clarity based on your reporting as to how these layoffs have been carried out?
Yes, there's been a lot of chaos and confusion. One example, RFK Jr., the new Secretary of HHS, verbally rescinded the firings of more than 900 workers with the Indian Health Service. And that's very similar to the Nuclear Security Administration, as we mentioned. And I spoke to one of those fired workers who was in the field for the Nuclear Security Administration. They ended up getting their job back, but this worker said that they felt as though the firings were heartless and that they became a civil servant because they wanted to serve the country in this way, acknowledging that there's usually more money in the private sector. Across